Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. We've been talking about a lot of different meta weapons recently. We've looked at some of the better SMGs, some of the better ARs, what the main meta loadouts are, but there's been a weapon that's sort of been lingering in the background that is definitely a big time sleeper weapon right now that actually has some extremely competitive stats. This is a weapon that I feel like absolutely fits into the meta in multiple different ways, but you don't see it used all that much, which is why today I wanted to look at it specifically and break down why it is actually extremely competitive and why I feel like more people should be using it. The weapon we're talking about is the Modern Warfare MP7. So as we go over everything today, if you enjoy the video at any point, let me know by dropping a like on it. It really does help out the channel. And of course, if you're new here or if you have not already subscribed, feel free to do so. That way you can always stay up to date with everything going on in COD, whether it is news, updates, loadouts, tips, whatever it may be, it is right here every single day. Also, real quick, let's check out today's sponsor. Hey everyone, just a quick heads up, today's video is actually sponsored by 1v1me. 1v1me is an iOS app that lets you put your money on the line and play Call of Duty against others. The whole process is super simple. You start your challenge, you set up all the rules you want to have in play, you set the wager amount, then you simply wait for someone to join up. The matches have to be streamed, so you never have to worry about anyone trying to cheat or do anything suspicious behind the scenes. And while you got to be 18 plus or older to actually play for money on the line, if you just want to get that sort of competitive feel, you can play $0 wagers and just earn reputation on the app. Also, if you're all about that grind, every single day there is $50 bounties going on, so if you just want to earn some extra cash, you can actually play for free and earn money that way as well. So if you're one of the first 1,000 people to download the app using my link, 1v1.me/WhosImmortal, you can actually get your first dollar for free and start playing right away. Be sure to check out the link down in the description below to download the app, and once again, huge thank you and huge shout out to 1v1me for sponsoring today's video. So first up, I did want to start off here on True Game Data, of course, and as always, huge shout out to Tony for allowing us to have access to all this information and putting it all together, making it so easily accessible. If you guys want to check out the site for yourself or his YouTube, both of those will be linked down in the description below. But let's talk the MP7 here. I got a few of the main meta SMGs here with their most optimal setup: the PPSH, the MAC, the Modern Warfare MP5, the OTS, the Cold War MP5, and of course the MP7 here in this light pink line, which is the one that we're going to be looking at and focusing on here. We're looking at obviously 250 health. We're looking at chest shots here. You can see the MP7, this pink line, is right up there with the best of the best. The MW MP5 has the best TTK, but only through about 10 meters to the chest. The Cold War MP5 is up there, and so is the OTS, but obviously all these drop off pretty significantly. The drop off here for the MP7 though is a little bit later. It's only about 4.5 meters, but that's a relatively decent amount of coverage there that the MP7 has over all these other main meta subs. Now it does drop off and it's sort of a middle of the pack SMG to the chest over range, but it does have that very competitive TTK up close, and it has slightly better range, which makes it a bit more optimal for sniper support. Now we go up, we look at the headshots. This is where the MP7 is a clear winner. Again, it's got a very competitive TTK up close when you're landing headshots, up there with the MW MP5, the Cold War MP5, and the OTS yet again. But while all those are dropping off, the MP7 stays very consistent, honestly up through 34 meters, which is, a very generous range for an SMG, right? That's where rifles really come into play, around that 25 to, beyond mark, honestly. But the MP7 sort of stands the test there, and it is very competitive through and through, all the way through the end of this graph here, really at 54 plus meters. This thing has a very good TTK if you're able to land headshots. And one of the huge pros of the MP7 is, one, it has very clean iron sights, so it's super easy to, consistently stay on that part of the body that you want to stay on. And it also has next to no recoil. You guys will see the build when we build it out later on into the video. I don't even run a grip on this thing because it's so simple and easy to control, meaning headshots, neck shots, chest shots, it's so easy to stay on target. And if you're able to really consistently land those headshots, this thing's going to fry. We go ahead, we look at the neck shots here. Again, it's got that increased range over all the other subs. It does drop off, and it's the middle of the pack SMG, up there with other favorites like the OTS, like the MAC 10. It really is very competitive with some of the main SMGs in every single scenario. Obviously it gets bested in certain areas by the Cold War MP5 or the PPSH, but up close it's better than those in quite a few different ways as well. We go ahead, let's look at the stomach shots here. Again, it has that better range. It is up there with the best TTKs with the OTS and the Cold War MP5, but it has that better range. Then it turns into that middle of the pack SMG, but that extra range, that extra 4 to 5 meters there, can be pretty beneficial because of just how severe these drop-offs are on the other subs. The OTS goes to above a 0.7 millisecond TTK there, whereas we're sitting here looking at a 0.5 millisecond TTK on the MP7. So that's a pretty drastic difference. Even though it's only 4 meters, That's a pretty big difference when it comes down to what it takes to actually knock an enemy and clean them up. We go ahead, we look at the extremities here. Everything's a bit slower. It is, again, though, middle of the pack. It does drop off a bit, but then it's right up there. 4th best over range, which I feel like is pretty consistent. We got the MAC-10 ahead of that, the Cold War MP5, and then also the PPSH. And really the MAC-10 and the PPSH are the only ones I feel like that are main competitors there. The Cold War MP5 on paper is really good, but we are using the Task Force barrel on this specific build for the stat graph, and Task Force barrel isn't something I'd always be using even in game because of that recoil reduction that it gets, which is not ideal on a weapon that already has pretty bad recoil. So while it's better in game, it might not always transfer, whereas the MP7s definitely do here because it's so easy to use and so reliable. And as you guys just saw, all these different parts of the body at many, many different ranges, it really never is the worst option, right? Which is something that I feel like is heavily overlooked. While it is an MW weapon, and as we'll see here, its mobility is not the most ideal, it absolutely can hold its own shot for shot with all the best SMGs in the game. So while it's not a #1 pick, it probably should be. For sniper support, it is easily one of the best options. As just a general secondary sub, it also fries. We can go ahead and also look at the base stats of this as well. MP7 on the far right here compared to all these other ones as well. It's RPM second best only to the MAC-10, so you are getting a great fire rate there. It's going to absolutely fry because of that. The ADS speed here is the drawback. Like, this is the main issue that I have with the MP7, and what most people will say, well, that's what kills it for me, and that's understandable, but you can get past this. You can use attachments like the stipple grip tape that increase that ADS speed. Same deal with the tack laser. And you're going to drop this number down a little bit. So yeah, the ADS is a little bit slower, but it's not going to be the end of the world there. Sprint to fire time, better than or equal to every other sub we got here. Tack sprint to fire time, same deal, better than or equal to. Its movement speed, a little bit slower than these other options, but it's really not that much slower. We're talking 0.20 milliseconds here, not even in some cases. Its ADS movement speed, again, a little bit slower, but barely in quite a few different scenarios. Only, 0.07 milliseconds slower than the MW MP5 and Cold War MP5 here with these two. So it is neck and neck in almost every single category here. Then you look at the bullet velocity, and it is actually significantly better than every other sub here, which again is what makes it so good for some of those more medium range fights where it actually does have a better TTK than a lot of other guns. That velocity plays a huge impact in that. So statistically, the MP7 is absolutely competitive with all the best SMGs that we see on the vast majority of loadouts. The OTS, the MW MP5, which has one of the best TTKs in the game. The MAC-10, which is one of the most chosen SMGs in the entire game and a huge fan favorite. The PPSH, which has really risen in rank recently. And the Cold War MP5, which is good on paper. Not a lot of players' favorites, but still relatively good for what it is. Like, the MP7 absolutely can hold its own. So when we look at the MP7 here, like I said, because this thing is so easy to use, you're able to really focus on areas where it maybe needs a bit more help, like that ADS speed, and come out with an end build that is actually incredibly dominant and very, very competitive. Of course, though, we're going to start off with that monolithic suppressor. That's sort of a no-brainer here. You got to have that on the MW weapons. In this case, we're going for the longest barrel, which is going to be the recon barrel. So we go ahead, we throw that on. We got the best range and velocity between those two. That's going to help out, obviously, with those close and medium range fights and sort of really help that out if you're trying to use this as a sniper support build. Like I said, when we were talking about it earlier, I do not use a barrel here, or an underbarrel rather. You don't need one. The recoil is just straight vertical, super easy to control and super easy to counter. Learn that pattern, you're good to go. Instead, I'm going for a tack laser. Give me that better ADS speed. Give me that better stability again for sniper support. That's going to help out, and for close range, that's also going to help out as well. For the magazine, you could either go 50 or 60. Most players, and even myself in the past, go with 60, but if you want it to be a little bit faster, 50 is going to be totally sufficient here. It's what you see on a lot of the other, SMG builds that we've got out there. And it really actually is better than several other SMG builds in terms of ammo capacity. Bigger than the MW MP5, than the OTS. Like 50 is totally sufficient. Then for the last attachment here, I usually go for the Icon, the Stippy Grippy. You're going to get some better ADS time out of that. You're going to get a better sprint to fire as well. Two huge pros, helping out areas where the MP7 is struggling a little bit, like I said earlier with that ADS speed. So this to me is a very well-rounded setup. You got the range, you get some ADS speed back, you got good mobility as is. It's gonna fry. We just saw the stats on paper. This thing is great in game, also great. A severely slept on and underrated SMG right now that absolutely fits into the meta. So definitely change up your SMG loadouts, in my opinion. If you're using something for sniper support that's feeling maybe a little bit inconsistent, something like the Bullfrog, which just got nerfed, maybe the LC10, swap those out for the MP7. You got a great support weapon here. It's also great for using with something like an AK, a C58, an EM2, whatever that main primary may be. It's all around just a very well-rounded SMG. But that's going to do it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Maybe you learned something new. If you did, let me know by dropping a like on it. It would be seriously appreciated. And of course, if you're new here or if you have not already subscribed, feel free to do so. That way you can always stay up to date with absolutely everything going on in COD. It's all right here every single day. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy. Have an awesome rest of your day. And I will catch you guys later. Peace out.